Hi, today we're going to do the weather vane block, and here's an example of it right here. And here are your directions. Being sure that you go through first and get your color selections right so you know where you're putting it together. I'm not going to do all the cutting because we did do that on the last block, and you can refer back to it. So if you'll see, I've already got my block cut out and I've laid it on my board, laid out the way it needs to be so I can sew it together. Now let's head to the sewing machine. Okay, here we are. We've moved over to the machine. One thing I wanted to show you was my 1/4 inch foot. It's got a bar right here. I'll turn it where you can see it, and you put your fabric up against that bar. There is also a mark on your machine for the 1/4 inch mark. I could use any foot really and just line it up with that mark. And then I have a laser, but everybody doesn't have that. So let's get our foot on there. We covered other ways in the other video. So now we're going to follow our pattern, and we're going to do the first step, starting to piece the block, and that's doing the half square triangles. So we're going to do 8 of them. We'll pick one of them up, and these I cut on the go cutter, so they're pretty cotton picking accurate, but you can get accuracy other ways. I'm going to line them up, and then I'm going to put them underneath my foot, and as you see, I've got it lined up on my line. Here we go. And my bobbin thread is almost empty, so I will be back. Anyhow, there's your 1/4 inch seam, and look how perfect it looks from one end to the other. And then we're just going to open it up, and remember, we're going to press, and it's important which sides we press to. Okay, we've got all of our half square triangles made. So what you want to do at this point is make sure you've got them set up where they're pointing in the right direction and your fabrics is placed correctly. Please refer to your diagram to do that right. Next, we're going to do step 2, and we're going to sew together the corner squares, and that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go. We're going to start with this one. Going to fold it over, and we want to make sure when we sew it that that seam is laying down. Line up my 1/4 inch. And there you have it. That's one of them. Now we're going to do the other one. And we're going to really do the same thing. We want to make sure that seam is laying down while we're sewing. Although I have it underneath, I will be able to feel that and know that I'm doing it correctly. Alright, we're going to press these, and remember when we're pressing, we're going to press one to one side and one to the other so our seams will match up correctly. Okay, now I'm going to set my seams, and then I'm going to press mine toward the 2.5 inch square and not towards the half square triangle. Boy, am I getting my words mixed up. And remember, it's very important. Okay, I put it together the way that I want to sew it. So I'm going to bring it over this way, and then you'll see I've got one seam going that way and one seam going that way, because you know the nesting is important. Okay, I'm at the sewing machine, and I'm going to nest my seams. Just real simple to butt them up against each other. Rick likes just go on and sew it, I like to pin it, making sure the top is even. I'm not real fussy about my pinning. Rick is. So whatever is good for you is good for me. So then I'm going to start sewing, being sure not to run over that pin because I could break a needle. I could even damage my machine, but right now I'm going to get that straight. And I want to make sure that seam lays flat. Get that pin out of there. Okay. Lift my foot to make sure that seam's going to lay flat. I don't know what's wrong with me. Am I talking? Now, I've got my seams matched up really nice, and look at my points. Looks really good. Let's press this. I'm going to set that seam. And then I'm going to press it over. And voila! We have our corner square. And we're going to do that 3 more times because we need 4 of them. Okay, now we're going to go to our pattern again, and we're doing step number 3. And the blocks that we're making now is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the blocks we're doing. And if you'll see, it kind of looks like this. We've already got one made. And I want you to see the back side of it. Look how pretty that looks. But now, we need to see how to do that. So, you're going to get your marking pen, and you're going to take your little 2-inch squares and line your ruler up right on the points. Okay? And then you're going to draw your line. This is the line that you're going to sew on. And you see we've got it done on this, and I've already done it on this one. Then we're going to take that to the sewing machine. You want to make sure that you line it up on the top and on the side. And pay attention to where it's facing your point and such. And we're going to be sewing that sideways. Now I have a laser on mine. You don't, so I'll turn the laser off for this. I did have to change feet because you don't want to use a 1/4-inch foot to do this, so I went with the regular foot. And what you're going to do is make sure you get that needle lined up right on your line, and you're going to go from here to here. Okay, let's do this. You want to stay right on that line. And if you see, I'm keeping it just right in between that little gap there. And I'm sewing, well, pretty perfectly on that line, I'm happy to tell you. How great is that? Now, to get the look of the block, you'll see, we're going to turn it over like that. And we'll press it. And you see it looks good, so you can take this back to your cutting board. And Rick's method is to put it on here and cut the 1/4-inch seam with your rotary cutter. Me, I'm a little more simplified girl, and I'm going to eyeball that 1/4-inch seam because it's not that important. And then I'm going to bring it over here and press it. We're going to set the seam, and then I'm going to fold it up. How pretty is that? And, oh, well, let's fix that. We want it to look as good on the back side. Okay? Then we're going to come and get our other one. But of course, we've lost it because that's what, oh, we took it to the sewing machine. That's what we do. We lose things. We do things crazy. And you're going to do it this way now. Making sure you've got it on the diagonal and go in the right direction. We're going to come back to the machine. My director's having to work his way around my movements. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to line that up on that line, and we're going to sew from one corner to the other. Just make sure you're staying on that line, which we're doing good. I'm using black thread today, guys. Okay, I have a thread cutter, so we're gonna cut it. We're gonna come back over here to the table. You could do it by your machine though. If I'd had my scissors there, I would have. Check it, see how it looks, and then we're just gonna eyeball that 1/4 inch seam again. Off to press it. We're gonna set that seam. My iron stays hot while it's sitting over here, so, and we're gonna press it out. And that is how it's done. And if you look on the back, that's what it looks like. And press over it to give it a crisp look. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the other 3 of these, okay? We'll be back in a minute. Okay, now we're gonna go to step 4 on our pattern. And what we're gonna do with that is make 3 rows, 1, 2, and 3. And you'd think there's not any seam matching because this doesn't have a seam going across, but you do have to match this seam. This one here and this one here, and that's what makes your point right there. So we're gonna put them together in this, on the side we're gonna sew right down here. Make sure every one you do, you're checking your pattern. It's not hard, but it's very easy to mix them up. So what I'm gonna do on this one is that seam and that seam I'm going to match up, making sure. Okay. Great, I'm licking my fingers. We want to match the 2 seams up and making sure they're even at the top. And when I do that, I do like to pin it as always. I'm cut. It's too much of a gap. Okay guys, I figured out what I was doing wrong, and it could happen to you too. I was trying to butt the seams together and it wasn't working out. It was giving me, it just wasn't working out. So what you want to do is line up those 2 diagonal seams, making sure that you're even at the top. Did you see that? Good enough? And then you're just going to pin it and take it to the sewing machine. And I did go back to my 1/4 inch foot. Make sure you do that. Oh. I have a laser, so I'm changing my laser back. So I'm going to line it up for that 1/4 inch. There's my 1/4 inch mark. And you want to keep that pin in till you don't need it anymore, which is going to be about now. And make sure you lift your foot and you don't pull that black strip back. I'm going to make sure it's lined up, which it's not. You just got to take it slow so you can get it right. Cut.
Yeah, all right.
I meant cut the thread. And there you go. And if you'll look, you'll see that mine was just a little bit, very little bit off. So I would have probably had to line it up just a teeny bit better. But we're going to take it to the ironing board and we're going to press it. Going to set the seam, which is something I didn't learn when I first started learning, and I just figured out recently. And then we're going to open it up and press it. And just, you want to pay attention that this is up here. And look at the back, how lovely is that? Let me fix that corner right there. And our back is looking good. So let's go back and we're going to add the other side. Making sure everything is set right. My fabric's laying the way it's supposed to be. And then we're going to come over here. And I'm going to line it up again. And remember, we're not nesting seams on this one. We're just lining up that angle, making sure that our fabric is even at the top. And then I'm going to pin it. And then we're going to do that 1/4 inch seam again. Need one of those things that keeps your foot from sliding, because mine slides all the time. Take our pin out. Don't want to break any needles. Especially don't want them flying in my face. Hey guys, did y'all notice my new glasses? They're green. I love them. I can see. Okay, again, we have that one done. We're going to bring it to the ironing board. See? You start to see it taking shape now. I'm going to set my seam. And be careful not to mess up the other seams like I do.
Now when you press it, you want to make sure that this seam, where is it, is pressed the same as this one. So you want to go in, because you've got the 2 more rows and you're going to have to nest those seams.
Exactly. So I want it to go in. So I would have to do it this way. And then we're going to press it open. We'll look at our back side and see if I messed up. I didn't! I'm so excited! And we're going to look how beautiful that is, and it's taking shape. Okay? Now, let me tell you one more thing. What we're going to do is, we're going to sew this row together and this row together, and we'll be back. Okay, we have all 3 rows sewn together. I have them showing the back side because, again, I want to point out. See, my seams are pointing in. On the next row, they're pointing out, and then they're pointing in again, so we can nest those seams properly. And be careful when you turn it over, because we know that that points down and that this one points up. We sure don't want to sew it together wrong, because then you would have to rip it out. Now, isn't that looking lovely? Now we're going on to our last step, and we're going to sew these rows together, and then our block will be complete. And pretty much you get the gist of it. We're going to nest our seams, making sure it's even at the top. And over here it is important because we want to line up these diagonal seams. Sorry, I've been so tongue twisted today. Making sure it's even at the top. I've had so much trouble getting my fabric to move around. And listen, if you have any other tips or suggestions for the block, I am always thrilled to hear something new. Nesting my seam. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in the center. I can tell you Rick wouldn't do that, but it just keeps my fabric lined up on the top, and then I don't have to worry about it. Alright, we're not nesting, we're only matching the diagonal seam. And I'm going to put a pin in it, making sure it's even on the top. And that's an issue right there. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pin that edge. And then I'm going to match up that diagonal seam. If you have problems like that, just adjust what you're doing and you will get it. Clearly, I didn't have that diagonal lined up correctly, or that wouldn't have happened. Okay. Here we go. 1/4 inch seam. There's your 1/4 inch line. And you know that you can also put tape on your machine as a guideline. We discussed that in the first video. Make sure all your seams are laying down as you go through here. I don't have to worry about making sure my fabric is lined up because I put a pin in the center here so we know it is. Yeah, sometimes I like the pin. You can see it changed a little right there. Okay, we're coming up on this pin and this seam. Just make sure that that's laying flat when you go over it. Again, a lot of times I don't have it with me, but my little pointer thing helps a lot. In fact, when you're sewing, you can actually do that if you have it and help keep it down. Remove your pins and voila. So now we have it done. There's the back. Let's go take it to the ironing board. We're going to set that seam. Let's see, do I want it to go? Yeah, I think I'll have it go that way. And then we're going to open it up and press that out. And I love the way this block is coming together, don't you?
Check the points.
It's beautiful. Look. And look at the back. Okay, let's add that bottom row and then we're going to be done. And I don't really have to go all over that with y'all again, you know. You've got to nest those seams. I like to pin it to keep them in place. Making sure that the seams lay the way that they're supposed to lay. Nest them. Rick, when I'm pinning this, show them the lights up there, that the bar lights or whatever you call them you put up over the table.
First, this is the sewing room. And, if I can say this without really chuckling a lot, used to be one of the kids' bedrooms. And they're gone. So, I put some lights in. It's kind of bright. Put it over the cutting table. It makes a world of difference.
Almost got it, but you know, I want to be accurate with those seams, so got one more to pin. And clearly it's looking good. I'm using my Dreamweaver machine today. It is a quilting machine. I love this machine. It's awesome. Okay, we're going to do that 1/4 inch. Let's
While she's doing that, I'm fixing to get in trouble. Show you her fabric closet.
No, that is not my fabric closet for quilting fabric.
Really?
No, it's in the other room. Stop, Rick.
Told you.
See, I couldn't even keep sewing because you're fooling around. Okay, well, I do clean it. I do, and then I mess it up again. But that's not my quilting fabric in there. That's just regular sewing fabric for other things that I make. I like to sew. I like to make a lot of crafts. I will make an outfit every now and then, but that's really not my thing. I did do one not too long ago because I was teaching my daughter-in-law how to do it. Okay. Let's take it to the ironing board. We're going to set the seam. I'm going to turn it over because I really want my seam to go the other. Never mind, ignore me. I'm going to open it up. And ladies, we have a weather vane block. I think it's quite lovely. Thank you, Kathy, for picking this block for us. We love it. I only have one more left to make and then I'll have mine done. Rick's got to start on his. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you later.